Yo, what's good YouTube? This is EduEDU and welcome to a new series. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make JavaScript applications, mobile applications. This mobile application is built using Ionic, and as you can see here, I'm running it in the browser right now on the local host, and it's using the Parse backend. You can register a new user with email, password, and some user role, and also then you can sign up over here. So if we go into the username, and I'm just gonna do verifytest234 at email.com or verifytest23 and just log in. So we just logged in. I did some native application just testing over here, just the button over here. It's just showing the location right now. I think I should blur this, like I shouldn't be showing the location. So I'm gonna blur this later on. And I'm just debugging the user right now. Here it is. Verify test123 is the current user. And if we go into log out, we can log out. So that is what we're going to be building today. We're going to be building a register page. We're going to be building a login page. And we're also going to be building just the functionality for the login with the Parse backend. Alright, so all you need to do, guys, is just if you're a complete beginner, don't worry, I got you covered. Just go into Google and go into Node, download Node.js. This is just the JavaScript runtime server. Just download it. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to reinstall this. And then go into Ionic framework. If we go into get started, we just want to go into the installation documents. So as you could see, we could use this command over here and just copy and paste this npm install global Ionic Client, which is fine, but let me just check something. Yarn package manager. If we go into Yarn, because Yarn is so much faster than npm in a bigger project, and we want to do that because if we want to install a lot of packages, we can be able to do that using Yarn or npm. So let's just check Ionic and then the CLI. Yep, here it is. So we could just add the Ionic CLI globally. So that is what we're going to do. We are going to go into a new command prompt. We need to install Yarn first, but just to make sure that we have npm installed, after installing the Node.js I just told you, just do npm v, which is npm version, and Node.js or Node v, which is going to show you the version of Node as well. And then we can do npm install and then global yarn. That command is not going to work for me because I already have it installed. So we are just going to install yarn at global at Ionic and then the CLI. Alright. Alright, so right now actually I don't think we can install this globally, but that is okay. We are going to install it just for our project, but just make sure to have Ionic installed in your project, alright? So actually all we need to do just to use Yarn instead of npm for our project, we just need to run this command that I got from their forums over here. that is referenced by these two guys over here that asked the question and then answered it. So I already had the answer for this, so I apologize. We have this over here, just Ionic configuration set. Alright, and we're just gonna do that by Ionic config and just set globally the npm client yarn. I have that already set. So right now all we need to do is just go into wherever you want to store your projects in. I'm just gonna delete this old to-do list. Alright, I'm gonna create a new project in where I store my project in my documents and projects. So we're just gonna create a new folder and I'm gonna call it to-do list Back4app. Alright, so just wherever you want to store your project, that is fine. You can just store it on your desktop. So let's open that up in Visual Studio Code and close up. Actually, let's keep this project to the side just for reference. So we're just going to create a new window, open up the folder, go to the documents, and wherever again you're storing your project. So I'm just going to store it over here. And just since you are in the directory of your project, open up a new terminal and just simply do Ionic start and then type equals to React, and again you can choose the application you want to start with as a template. Let me show you. Just press enter. It's gonna give us first, every great app needs a name, so we're just gonna make the name for it to-do list. And here are the templates. You can choose one of them if you want to start with them, but we're going to start with a blank. And as you can see, right now you're using yarn instead of npm. But to install yarn globally, just make sure to run this command. This is how I installed it. npm install a global Ionic client. Just make sure to run this command, okay? And it's just going to take a moment while it's installing the application. But let me show you the project structure. It is pretty simple actually. If you think about it, it's just a TypeScript application or just a React application that is just through this index.html and the div over here that is ID of root. Everything is rendered through here. That is pretty much it. And everything that is in here is compiled into Ionic, basically, which is the CSS3 framework. And then you can add capacitor to it, and capacitor is basically like a plugin or like a extension for Ionic that basically enables you to use native functionality in an application, as well as compiling your application to Android or iOS. So after that being explained, the project is right now almost set up. It's creating our node modules, and our node modules is just all the packages and the dependencies that are being installed right now by Yarn. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a moment while it's linking and fetching the dependencies. and I'm gonna go sign up for Back4app. So I already have an application that is signed up over here. I have over here some data that I'm gonna probably blur somewhat out of. But this is just for a development project. Anyways, it's not for an actual project. But I have the email over here, the role, the username, and the repeat password, and the phone number, and like the job title over here, or the title of the customer. This is just an example. We're not gonna need all of this, but in order for us to actually create the application, all we need to do is just do new application, and inside that application name, we're just gonna name it to-do list, very simply. So it's just creating our database while also installing the project. So we're working on the front end and the back end together. So in order for us just to open our project, we just need to cd into our project, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna open up the folder because we wanna also see the view over here to be just the project. I don't want anything else. Go into your source folder and open up a terminal. Yarn start. Okay. And right now we have a simple database right now that is basically, it has nothing in the application itself, and we're just going to open up the application itself. Let's also remove everything that is in the home page. Let's remove this explore container and just add in Ion text and add in test for login. As you can see, the application is started, and if we save it now, it's just gonna compile it. Give it a moment, and as you can see, this is test for login. So right now we also wanna create a new page basically. So let's do that. Let's call the folder login, another folder, call it register, and let's just create a new folder and call it home for our files to be more organized. It's gonna give us some errors, just don't worry. Go into your app.tsx and just save that. Basically, it's just messing up the directories, but Visual Studio Code is gonna automatically fix this. So that's why I'm using this code editor. So if you don't have this code editor, just install Visual Studio Code. Alright. So right now, we want to create the login page, and inside that login page, we just want to do login.tsx, and inside it, we do want to do rfce. And what is rfce? It's a React functional component. If you guys don't know what that is, I advise just take a quick look at React components, and this is just a simple example for like a React component over here, a functional component. and how to render a component, but this is just a simple component. And if you want to do this command that is rfce, or do a functional component by rn f rnf, I think this is for React Native, rnfe, rnfc, I think rfce. So this is a React functional component with an arrow function. This is a different one. So to install this, all you need to do is just install this ES7 extension. Alright. So inside the login page right now, we just want to show you how to actually create the project structure, and we're going to continue that. So we have login dot super style sheets. We don't actually need super style sheets. We're just gonna use CSS for now. And we have home, and finally register dot tsx, and do rfce, and just create a new register dot csx. Import the register dot css, and in login also import the css file. And in the home page, let's just remove this warning. You can comment out the explore container for now. Alright, and as you can see right now, there are no issues found. So let's just do Control A over here, select everything that has been opened up in the editor, and do Control S to save it, and then make sure you're in Visual Studio Code, and then Control W. Just Control W each page, so we just close each page, and that's pretty much it. We don't want all these pages opened up right now at once. So let's check out something. In order for us to route the pages that we want to, in the application over here, we have already the Ion React router that's already set up. It's basically like a React router DOM. It's kind of the same thing. You're just mentioning the route with the path, and you can also mention the component. Let's say, for example, home. So if we remove this and just remove this as well, that is going to work as well, as you can see. And over here, this is basically just an example of how to redirect the path to home. So when you open up the application is supposed to redirect to home, because if we go into localhost 3000, there is no page for the default directory, if you know what I mean, which is this. So that's why we redirect it to the home page, just for you to know, okay? So we need to mention the new pages that we just created over here. Alright, so we're just gonna do Alt and then Shift, guys, and then press the arrow key downwards, and we have two more pages we want to do. Okay, so in order for us to just copy and paste this fastly, I'm just going to show you a really good tip. Just do Alt and then Shift, and then see how many times I just copied this. So if I just press up or downwards, it's just gonna keep on copying this. But of course I don't need all of this, but I'm just showing you a trick, okay? So we just want to register the routes for our new pages, which is gonna be login and register. And in the component, we're gonna make the components over here login and register. Okay. So you can see the URL on top on here. If we change home to login, right now we're gonna be in the login page. And if we go into, which is basically this page, login test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here it is, and the home page and the register page, I'm sorry, it's just gonna be register as well. And basically we just assign the route to our login pages and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's do the login. Alright, so we need to install another application that is going to be called Parse. Okay, so open up a new terminal over here and just do yarn and make sure you are in the directory folder of your project. Wherever you have made your project, make sure you are in the project directory itself. So you add in this package that we are going to install by using yarn into your package.json over here. Okay, so basically we're just going to be adding first. Let me close this package.json and I'm going to open it up in a second, just after it installs this, and I'm just going to get into the Parse documentation. Back4app registration documentation and TypeScript. Alright, so let's start with the register page, you guys. So we need to do actually just a few simple things to start with the register page. I'm just making sure that, yeah, we still have time in my crisp. And alright, let's clear everything up over here. Let's go into my register page over here and let's start designing the simple UI for the register page. So to do that, all you need to do is just do ion and then page, and then you could do ion content, and then you could add in over here full screen. If we go into the home page over here, we could just copy the header and just add it over here. And just change the title and just import everything that is missing over here. Don't worry about the errors. Let's check out the application, how it's looking right now. Let's just change it into register. This is the one that I have opened up, for example. There it is. And as you can see, we just added this new registered title over here. We need to add just some simple information. We're just going to start by something really simple. It's basically going to be the email and the password. So we need three things. We're just going to add a name and the email and the password. All right, let's go. So we're just going to do ion input and just import that. Alt Shift and then do that 2 more times. And just open up this tag over here so we could add in some properties. We're going to start with something called placeholder. And basically this is going to show you what you're going to be writing in the input as a preview. So let's say, for example, name. So as you can see over here, we can now add a name. Let's add another input placeholder. Copy and paste this 2 more times and just email and then password. But it looks a little bit like everything is stacked over up, so we're gonna add in just an ion divider and import this. It's called ion item divider, I think. Let me just check that. Yep, ion item divider. And as you can see right now, we put in another divider. It looks a little bit more aesthetic. And we need one last thing for the register page, which is basically going to be the button. So we're just going to do an ion button. Alright. In the ion button, we just want to add in over here register. And we also want to make this expand equal block. And that is going to make the button full width, as you can see over here. It's going to display it as block, just so you know. And one last thing is going to be the color. You can choose any Ionic colors if you want to check out the Ionic colors. You could do, like, for example, success. So if you go into our application, success, let me just check the documentation. I think I missed the C. So we have this green button over here. Let's actually do, I like this purple one. Let's do directory. Alright, it's not working. Did I write it wrong or something? Terry. Alright, so yeah, it looks better now. And let's add in another item divider between them. Alright. But there is an issue. The item divider right now looks like the items are a lot spaced, so if the user presses in here, it's not going to show them the input. So we need to fix that. So in order to fix that, we're going to remove actually the dividers. Alright, and we're just going to give these ion inputs we can do 2 things. either assign a class name for each one and just edit it in CSS like this, for example, ion inputs, for example, and just style them in the register.css. I'm just going to do a quick example. Padding of 1 rem, and just give it a background color of, let's say, what's going to look good with purple. Let's check out, I think just white or ghost white is going to look good. So yeah, as you can see, and we could give it the color of teal, for example. So yeah, right now the input is in the color white. Give it the border radius of 8 pixels. Alright, so right now it is rounded, a little bit more rounded if you guys noticed. And let's actually change this into ion input and go in over here and just make it ion input. Alright. But there is another issue right now. We're still looking that it is stacked on top of each other. So if we go into the documentation, I'm just going to show you something. There is a grid system over here, which is very beautiful. If you ever check Bootstrap, or like a responsive container like a Flexbox, it's basically the same thing. So you're just going to do an ion grid, and inside that ion grid you're going to do an ion row and an ion column, and then just Alt and Shift 3 more times because we have 3 more inputs. Actually, let's just Control and Z this and make this size to be 12. Alright, Alt and Shift 2 more times and just import everything from Ionic React. Okay. And let's just put the inputs over here. Open up like each column and just put in the input over here. Not going to take us just a second. And you could just reformat the document by doing Control A and then View, Control Shift P, and then Format Document. That is pretty much it. And to also add in like formatting, you could also install Ionic. Ionic is not responsible for formatting, but there is just some extension. You could start some projects and run some commands as build, and also this extension is going to be helpful for you. Alright, let's go back into our register page. Check out how the page is going to be looking right now. See, because of the grid system we just added over here, right now we have some spacing, and that is pretty much it why we added this grid system over here. And the size that I just did over here is basically 12. It is just for the form to take the width of the middle screen and everything, but I do not like that they're like it is really this like it's taking the whole width of the screen for no apparent reason. So we could add the email and password into one column by just doing 6 and 6. Alright, let me tell you what I just did here. Okay, the maximum size of the grid system over here is just 12. So if I do 6 and 6, this is basically just gonna divide them into 2 because they are in the same row at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So they are in the same row. This is a row, and this is a colon. Okay, so if I do, for example, size 4 and then 4 and then 4, which is going to be the amount of 12, the 3 are going to be beside each other, but we want it to be 6, 6, and 12. Let's actually make this 4, for example. C is going to be having a variable width of 6, and then there's going to be 2 spaced out because we have 4 and 6 that is equal to 10. So this column does not have 2 over here, so it's going to start from the new column and just take 4. Alright, so let's actually just make this into 6, and that looks a little bit better, but we want the name on top, so we're just going to make this into 12, and that I think looks better. So we just want to add in one last thing in the styles over here. We just want to add on hover. Alright, hover, and just add in alright, let's think about it for a second. I just want to add in a transition, 0.3 seconds even out. Alright, and over here we want to transform scale to 1.2, for example, and change the background color to be, let's take gray, for example, or actually let's make it like a beige color. Alright, so yeah, as you can see right now we have a little bit of a small animation over here, but let's make the scale just at 1.1. so yeah, that looks a lot better, and you could also make it at like just a little bit, you know what I mean? We just wanted to just show the animation. You could also change the color to be like let's actually keep it white, but let's change the background color to be teal. Alright, let's mix it up. So that looks good now. I think that looks a lot better. Alright, so we just added some simple styling for our application over here in the register. So let's start adding the inputs for the register and creating the function that is basically gonna do something when we register. We want to basically capture the user inputs for the name, email, and password, and then we want to press on the button to register and just handle the register from the API of Back4app. Okay. Alright, so we're 38 minutes into the application. Let's continue. Let's remove this item divider. Alright. So let's create a new function for handling register request from API. So we're just gonna do an async function, and that function is gonna be called handle register requests from API, and that's pretty much it. But let's think about it for a second. We want this async function to be called later on into the button if we call it right now, it's not gonna be called because it is just mentioned over here. We need to just add it into a const. So we're just gonna do that, and const equals to handle register request from the API, and that is equal to an async function that is gonna basically have try and catch, and in it is an error. Alright, and inside that error we could console.log the error, and we could try to we're gonna get the response equals to await, and this is just an example from the API and register. We are not gonna do this, but this is all we need to do for now. Let's check out the documentation and how to handle the register request from the API in Back4app Parse. Let's close everything up, and here it is. If we go into the documentation and just go into docs and then learn more, and then connect to Back4app, we need to initialize the application for basically connecting the application with Parse and the system. At this time we still haven't connected the backend to the front end of the application, so we are going to do that. So again, to set up the backend, just do yarn add parse. I already installed that before, so that is not gonna take a long time. And I'm just showing you an example of how to set up the app itself. So to do that, we just need to get the JavaScript key and the application key from app settings over here. Go to app settings over here, and here go into the dashboard, and then the application. I have the to-do list over here, and go into app settings, security and keys, and just get the API keys. Alright, so application ID, app ID, and the JavaScript key. Alright, so we have right now the app ID and the JavaScript key. We want to check out how to actually connect these to the register page over here. Right, so we need to first off do a new const that's going to be called parse, and we're going to require, it's basically like an import, you guys, parse. So let's just test out if it works or not. So if I go into my application over here and just go into web developer tools and just console.log parse, just make sure it's passing something. Yep, we need to pass these, the application ID and the JavaScript key. So we are going to do that. Parse that initialize, and then put in the app ID over here, and then you could put the JavaScript key afterwards. You could use also double quotations or single quotations because this is JavaScript, not PHP. And we can remove these for now. We just want to remove also this console.log. And if we try to click on the button, we just want to add in the function on click to register, no, handle on click. What's happening? Yep, on click, then equals handle to register request from API. It's not going to do anything right now because basically we haven't passed anything to it. We're just defining the function itself, and I'm showing you an example of a wait fetch request. Okay, but right now there's nothing that we're getting the fetch request from or anything. So let's just go to the documentation over here. I'm going to show you the register mode over here. Go into docs and go into let's go to React, and JavaScript actually. I think there is a better way to do this, and just go into, where was it? I'm sorry, just give me a second, you guys. Docs and API reference. Yeah, that is the one. User API, and we want signing up. Beautiful. Alright, so in signing up, as you can see over here, it's just an async function over here that is written in TypeScript, and you could set in all these examples. You could set in a provider if you want to sign up with like Google or Microsoft or like whatever providers that Back4app is supporting. You can also add an avatar picture. Okay. You can also add a lot of more things, but all we need to do is add these three things: user that set the username, user that set the email, and user that set the first name. That's pretty much what we want. Alright, so we're just gonna copy this and just keep it over here in a comment. But again, this is just the documentation. I'm gonna keep the link for it over here, and let's check out the register function they have over here. Okay, so this is the login. We want the register, so const user, parse user, and new parse user. So actually, yep, here it is. This is the one that I was looking for. User.signup and user new parse user. Alright, so it's gonna be const user, and that's gonna be equal parse dot user, and it's gonna be an equal to new parse dot user. Alright, And in the try, we're gonna remove this, and we're also gonna remove this comment. I'm gonna keep it at the end over here. And I want this to be basically to catch the results. So we could let the user result equal to parse.user and await the user.signup, which is the const we just mentioned, the new parse user and new signup. Alright, catch error and just add in type any console.log error has been found, and just fix the star over here. Alright, what else do I want to do? So right now I want to also catch the inputs for the user. It's not going to do anything right now because basically if we console.log the handle register request from API, go into our application, it's just going to be an async function, and basically we see we got an error from Back4app on line 38 that the error has been found. Please, that the error cannot sign up with user with an empty username because we have an empty username, as you can see. So we want to also create a new username and a new name and a new email. So this is the error we got right now from the backend, and I'm gonna show you the example that I made before, so I do not waste your time, guys. So if you go into the old pages I made over here and go into register, as you could see, this is just an example for what I used over here just to register the application. I have user.set a lot of stuff. This is just an example, and example. Alright. So I just want to show you something, right? So see the user.set that I copied earlier? We are going to do this over here as well, just under user. And over here, as you can see, I'm passing a string, but I'm getting that string dynamically with two hooks basically, guys, that are called useState and useEffect. And they're getting the inputs of the user and the password and whatever I'm mentioning over here using those. And that is what I'm going to do over here as well. I'm just going to copy the code over here that I read before. Or actually, let me just do it from scratch for you guys. So I'll be doing it with you guys also as well. Okay? So let's start with a simple const, and just bear with me over here. We're going to create an array, and we're going to import useState. And also import useEffect. So in here we want to get the name. We want to set the name. Also check the syntax just So yeah, so over here, like we just did a const, and we're defining through it a string, but it's empty for now, and we're setting the set state action over here with set name, and we're passing that to useState. And in order to just pass this over here, we just need to also mention those over here in the inputs using on ion change. All right, so let's also do that. So let's just continue over here, create two more using Alt and Shift, and change this into email, change this into password, set email, and then set password. All right, and right now we want to pass these to the inputs themselves. All right, so if we let's remove the console.log that we have over here. All right, and do a console.log for the string, and that's going to be name, email, and password, and console.log the set state actions, and that is going to be set name, and then set email. We're just debugging, you guys. It's not necessary. We're going to remove this code because I just want to show you what we're basically doing, okay? We have a function that's dispatching the action over here and set state actions. In the strings, we have 3 empty strings. All right, so basically we have 3 functions that are dispatching actions over here. So basically when we're writing over here set the name and set the email and set the password, set is basically the one that is responsible to set the password and pass it to the useState, and then going on to the back end, and this is how you communicate stuff. Basically, for an example, in Ionic, alright, and TypeScript or JavaScript also as well. This like you can use this on JavaScript. Alright, let's continue. So, what do we want to do right now? We just assign these consts. Think about it for a moment. We just assign this const, and we wanna do ion change. Alright, we're gonna do this on the ion inputs. So on ion change, set an event, and just map that event to, let's check out the syntax I wrote over here before, because again I don't want to waste your time. Yep, we're going correct. So over here we're just going to be setting the name, and the name is going to be name. No, actually we're going to set the name, I'm sorry, to event dot detail dot value, but there is something wrong that I'm doing. So let's check out what I'm doing wrong in the previous example that I did. So I have an event Alright, so first off, I didn't mention the type, and this is just an error boundary. So this is a parameter, and I have an error boundary over here. This just handles the error beautifully. And the set state action over here is getting the parameters, that is the event and detail that value, which is basically the user input that we're having over here. So let me show you something, okay? If I go into our strings, check out the strings over here. If I do test, or whatever I write over here, right now it's gonna show up. Why? Because I basically just finished getting the input for the user over here, okay? So let me just copy and paste this 2 more times. Get the whole function over here, the whole parameter, I'm sorry, the whole property, another one, and change this one to set email, change this one to also set password, and finally just add in this that I'm just gonna be typing, called a type of password. I think that is the syntax, yep. And over here that is gonna be type of text, not types, just type. And one last type over here, that is gonna be type equals to text. Alright, so right now if we go into our application right in the email, you can also find that the email and the password are getting passed through here over here in the strings. So if I do, let me just refresh the page, do email, and this is actually name, and here is email, here is password, everything is passed in the strings. So right now we just want to pass these to the function that's gonna handle our request, that is the strings over here. And that's pretty much easy. All we need to do is just pass in over here username, or actually no, it's gonna be, sorry, the uh, so actually we just need to go back into our documentation and just check out something really quick. But for now we could just set the email and set out the name. We also want to set out the alright, what's happening over here, text, okay, and we just want to remove this console.log we have on top over here for the strings. We also want a user that set the password, and we're just gonna pass in the password, and we're gonna remove this uh, username for now, okay? So let's test out and see what's gonna happen, okay? So if I do Omar and just any test email at email.com, for example, and do 1 2 3 4 5 and just register, and not sign up a user with an empty username. So I think we need to do something else. We also need to set the username. So let's do this, okay? So let's go over here, change the size to be 6, and do another column, change this one to be name and then username, and over here we're gonna set the username. Alright, copy and paste this one time and change this into username and set username. What else? Set username. Refresh this. We also wanna pass in the username. Right? So we have username. We also remove this console.log and test at email.com 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and just register. Alright. We have an error. They have a new error, which is a good thing. HTML XML HTTP request failed, unable to connect to the Parse API. So I think we just need to set up the API. Like there's a link that you just need to get the request from. I think I didn't set that up. So let's try again. Just make sure that is the error. Test and then test username. Test at email.com and then 1 2 3 4 5. Alright, so basically the same error is over here, so we're just going to check out the previous example that I've done over here and see what I have that is missing. Alright, we can also wrap this into a form if you guys want to. If you want to add like a contact form, I have an example over here also as well, but right now let's just continue what we're doing and check out the error itself. Alright, so user.signup, new Parse user, new. Alright, I think we just need to initialize the application. And yep, actually let's actually get in this initialize the backend. Alright, so let's just get this. And what I did before, guys, I just assigned 3 consts over here, and inside these 3 consts I just added in the API keys that we needed and the API for Back4app, which is the parse host URL over here. So we don't have to use all of this, we could just do alright, just a second, this and this. Alright, and just copy this over here into our app.tsx. Add it up over here, and just do one last thing. Const parse equals to require parse. Stick with me, we're almost oh sorry, require parse alright, and just go over here and remove this parse that's initialized. Alright, and just name it Omar username, test that email, and password, register. Alright, so we actually did not see anything because basically we did not add anything, but probably the request just went through, but it's not showing. We can see the network right now, and as you can see, yeah, there is a GET request that was sent, and we got a status of 304 that it's not modified. So let's check out the Back4app and see what's going on right now. Okay, go into my apps, and where is it? Is it this one, or I just created two new ones? So if we go over here, and as you can see over here, we just signed up a new user with Omar username over here that I just did. Email, test@email.com, and first name Omar. So we have just finished up the sign up, you guys. We are gonna continue. I'm gonna finish up and continue to the login. I'm just gonna go drink some water, and I'm gonna do continue and finish on the login with you guys. And it's gonna be very simple. It's gonna be simpler more than the register, but as you can see, we have just finished up the register. I'm just gonna add in one last thing: console.log registered successfully as. Alright, let me just test that. Test 2, username 2, test email 4 at email.com, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically, yeah, we just registered successfully as, and it just got the object itself. And there is a method as well that we could filter the results and like show a pop-up message. But I'm gonna show you guys that in the login section of this tutorial. But for now, thank you so much for watching part 1, and see you guys in part 2, where we're gonna be just continuing and doing the login. This was AngoED, you guys. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video or the continuation. Just stay with me to the end of the video, where I'm just going to be finishing up the login.